Shalom, brothers. Just wanted to touch on this lesson real quick. One of the brothers had asked me about the high holy days. So, Lord's will, we're going to go through the high holy days and break them down, and give you some understanding on why we, keep these days. All right. The first thing we're going to deal with is the Sabbath. Now, as you see here on this chart, it says the Sabbath is governed by the new moon. And whenever the new moon comes in, that's the beginning of the month. As you know, the scriptures say that the moon is called after her name, after the name of the month, or the month is named after the moon's name. All right, that's where you got the word month. The word month comes from the word moon. All right, and that's the first Sabbath of the month. All right, and that's what governs the rest of the Sabbaths, is the new moon. Then you do 6 days of work. Then on the 7th day is a Sabbath, so on and so forth until the end of the month, and then the cycle starts all over again. So the Sabbath, what you see here is Shabbath, and that's how you pronounce it, Shabbath, is a day of rest given to us by the Most High. 6 days work is to be done, and the 7th day shall be a Sabbath. All right, that's why I got here Sabbath. All right, so that's the deal. So you were given 6 days of work, and every 7 days, after we were given 6 days of work, and every 7th day after that would be a Sabbath. All right, but it's governed by the new moon. Okay, so the next frame here is called Sabbath sanctified. This is the first time when the Sabbath was sanctified and implemented by the Most High, which really was implemented through Yahweh Shai and the angels. All right, because after the Sabbath was implemented, that's when the Most High made his appearance, because he gave the blueprint, so to speak, to Yahweh Shai and the angels to create the heaven, the earth, and all things that are therein. Genesis 2:1. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the 7th day the powers, this what should be there, the powers ended his work which he had made. And he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And the reason why it says he really should be powers. The reason why it says he is because it was the plans of the Most High. Alright? It wasn't the plans of the angels, Yahweh Shai and the angels. It was the plans of the Most High that he gave to Yahweh Shai and the angels. That's why it says, and on the 7th day the powers ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the 7th day from all his work which he had made. And the powers blessed the 7th day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which the powers created and made. Alright, so this is when the Sabbath day was implemented. Alright, now as you see here, this is the sanctification of that day. Alright, now in the next frame, this is when the Sabbath was made a law for us. Exodus 20:8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but on the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy power. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy man servant, nor thy maid servant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gate. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, as we just read, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the 7th day. Wherefore the Lord Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. Now you notice when you read in Genesis the 2nd chapter, this word here did not appear. The Lord in all caps is the Most High's name, Yahweh. But the reason why it said he is because the Most High gave the plan. Alright, now this is the law, as you can see here on the Sabbath. And there are many other laws you can go into, but this is one of the main ones. Alright, as far as the law concerning the Sabbath is concerned. Alright. Now the next high holy day is the Passover, which is going to be coming up soon. You brothers got to get ready for that, because there's some preparations that you got to make for it. All right, and matter of fact, since I mentioned it, the Passover for this year comes in on March 17th at evening to March 24th at evening. So you brothers should have the calendar that y'all can follow along with. Alright, so this is the Passover. The Passover, or the Feast of Unleavened Bread, is another name for the Passover. And the reason why the bread was unleavened was because we didn't have time. The women didn't have time to put leaven in it, because the Passover is a feast of hasting. You know, it's to be eaten quick. You know, standing up with you girded, your loins girded, your staff in your hand. You know, I mean, we have chairs, we sit down, but, this ain't like one of them fancy dinners you go to, you got your utensils and your napkin, and, it's to be eaten in haste, you know. All right, so it says, Passover, Feast of Unleavened Bread. Here you see the Hebrew, Pesach. This is how you pronounce it. Pesach is a week-long feast to remember our deliverance from the Egyptian captivity. And then there you have the Passover. Alright, so that's what the main reason for the Passover was. And, if you brothers want, I'll go through a few scriptures on it. And then some of these scriptures you brothers can go over and read the whole thing. I'm just going to read the fine points of it just to give you an idea of what these feasts and what these high holy days consist of. Alright, the next frame is Passover comes in at the beginning of the year. Alright, now the beginning of the year usually falls around the spring equinox, but Esau's time is all messed up, so sometimes he'll say it comes on one particular day every year, but sometimes that's not the case. Alright, so it says, this is Exodus 12:1. It says, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, this month shall be unto you the beginning of months, it shall be the first of the year to you. So this is around the time when the Passover would come in. That's why I got here beginning. Alright, now the next frame, Passover law instructions. This is Exodus 12. You can read the whole chapter of Exodus 12 to really get, the whole story, and everything that took place at that time. Exodus 12:5. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. So you can have goat meat if you want. It's in the scriptures. I mean, goat meat is more expensive than lamb, so that's why we have the lamb also. And the lamb represents Yahweh Shai, so that's the reason why we eat lamb. It actually, and it's also a little bit more inexpensive. It says, and you shall keep it until the 14th day at 14th day of the same month, and the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. See, because that's why the Passover starts the 14th at evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the two side posts and on the upper door posts of the house wherein they shall eat it, and they shall eat the flesh in that night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. See, the bitter herbs represent that furnace of affliction that we were in Egypt. Alright, it says, eat not of it raw, nor sodden it all with water, but roast with fire his head with his legs and with the pertinence thereof. So we can't really do this now because we don't have our own farms, with lambs and all that. But technically, you were supposed to roast the whole lamb, with everything, the insides and everything, and then you would cut it up and eat, and then get rid of the parts that you had to get rid of, But technically, that's how you were supposed to burn it, the whole thing. It says, and you shall let nothing of it remain until the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. So the blood of this particular lamb, after you spilled it out, you were supposed to strike it on your doorpost, so that when Yahweh Shai came that night, he would pass over your door, and not put anybody in your house to death. Alright, because that was the last and final plague of Egypt, was the death of the firstborns, And thus shall you eat it with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Passover.